On July 9, 2025, an unnatural silence hung over the Taiwan Strait, the calm before a storm. In fortified bunkers along China's coast, PLA commanders watched their screens confident in their years of preparation. Their anti-access/area denial, or a 2/AD strategy, was designed to turn the waters around Taiwan into a deadly trap for the US Navy. The time for reunification, by force if necessary, had come. Their arsenal was formidable, thousands of ballistic and cruise missiles, including the infamous DF-21D and DF-26 carrier killers, all aimed at key targets. The plan, a massive coordinated missile barrage to overwhelm American defenses and sink an aircraft carrier, forcing Washington to negotiate. PLA planners believed their integrated air defenses and J-20 stealth fighters would form an impenetrable wall. Today, they would prove to the world that the technological gap with the West was closed. The order was given. Across the coastline, silo doors opened and launchers rose. With a deafening roar, the first wave of missiles streaked skyward. On command screens, hundreds of missile tracks converged on a single high-value target in the Philippine Sea. PLA leadership watched, convinced they were witnessing the dawn of China's rise as a global superpower. They had thrown the ultimate punch. They believed their adversary could not withstand it. The PLA's primary target, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was not where their intelligence had last placed it. The Ford, centerpiece of Carrier Strike Group 12, was operating further east than expected. This floating fortress, escorted by cruisers and destroyers, was a symbol of American power. Sinking her would shatter the myth of US invincibility and shift the global balance. Chinese intelligence, relying on outdated data, believed they had a clear shot. But the American fleet was not a static target. The strike group's commander, anticipating danger, had shifted their patrol area under electronic silence. The Ford and her escorts were on high alert, sensors scanning for threats. The PLA's missiles were flying toward empty ocean. The real target was elsewhere, its crew unaware of the incoming storm. But that calm was about to end. The Ford's advanced radars and those of her escorts would soon detect the swarm. The floating fortress was about to become the anvil for China's ambitions. The stage was set for a clash of titans. The first warning came not from a lookout, but from the ship's computers. Aboard the USS Princeton, alarms blared as hundreds of hostile missile tracks appeared. The PLA's carrier killer missiles were inbound. War games had become reality. There was no panic, only the execution of well-rehearsed defensive protocols. The Chinese attack was a saturation strike, hypersonic glide vehicles, ballistic missiles, and sea-skimming cruise missiles all at once. The goal: overwhelm American defenses from every angle. But the attack faltered immediately. Ballistic missiles, though fast, followed predictable arcs, making them easy targets for the fleet's powerful radars. The Aegis Combat System turned the strike group into a single, networked defense organism. As the first wave descended, Standard Missile 3 interceptors launched, colliding with targets in the upper atmosphere. Hostile tracks vanished from screens, one by one. The Chinese storm broke against an invisible wall of American technology. The battle had only just begun. The US Navy was ready for the next wave. The American defense was a series of overlapping layers, not a single wall. SM-3 interceptors met ballistic missiles in space, but more threats followed. Aegis destroyers launched Standard Missile 6S, creating a vast protective bubble. Electronic warfare systems jammed enemy guidance while decoys and chaff confused incoming missiles. Surviving threats faced the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, a last-ditch interceptor. The sky became a chaotic canvas of explosions and missile trails. Finally, the Phalanx CIWS, nicknamed R2D2, shredded the last few cruise missiles with a hail of cannon fire. The entire Chinese salvo, years in the making, was defeated. Not a single American ship was hit. The Aegis shield had held. The fleet was intact. The initiative was about to shift. There was no pause. The US response was immediate. Every Chinese missile launch had revealed its origin. American satellites and sensors pinpointed launch sites, radar stations, and command bunkers. The PLA had handed over a target list. The rules of engagement were clear: respond with overwhelming force. Arleigh Burke destroyers and Ticonderoga cruisers launched Tomahawk cruise missiles at exposed PLA positions. On the Ford, emails catapulted F/A-18S and F-35Cs into the sky, loaded with precision-guided munitions. The air wings surged, ready to blind and dismantle the Chinese A2/AD network. Tomahawks struck coastal radars. F-35Cs hunted surface-to-air missile sites. The U.S. aimed to kick down the door before the main assault. The tide had turned. American firepower was about to crash down on the Chinese coast. The American counteroffensive showcased a technological edge the PLA had underestimated. F-35Cs, more than fighters, acted as flying sensors, penetrating deep into Chinese airspace undetected. Their data fusion capabilities allowed seamless sharing of targeting data across the fleet. Networked warfare was America's true secret weapon. F-35S identified targets, passing data to Super Hornets and destroyers for coordinated strikes. The US fought as a single, integrated force. The PLA fought isolated battles. EA-18G Growlers unleashed electronic attacks, blinding Chinese radars and severing communications. The PLA's air defense system was systematically dismantled. Precision munitions like JDAMs and small-diameter bombs struck with pinpoint accuracy. Every weapon had a specific target, no indiscriminate bombing. The US dismantled the PLA's military apparatus with surgical precision. The technological gap was undeniable. With PLA sensors blinded and air defenses shattered, the US counterstrike hit China's coastal military assets. Ford's Air Wing launched wave after wave seek and destroy. F/A-18S hunted mobile missile launchers, turning them into wrecks. PLA Navy ships, now exposed, were hunted by P-8 Poseidons and carrier fighters. Harpoon missiles and torpedoes sank Chinese warships, turning the Taiwan Strait into a graveyard. Bunkers and command centers became priority targets for B-2 bombers and bunker-busting bombs. The PLA's command structure was decapitated. The psychological effect was devastating. Confidence turned to terror. American aircraft struck with impunity, revealing the true technological gap. The destruction was broadcast across every remaining PLA screen. The Dragon's Lair was breached, its teeth and claws were broken. The myth of invincibility was shattered. The shockwaves from the military collapse rippled across China. State media's triumphant tone vanished, replaced by silence. Social media and satellite images revealed the truth. Catastrophic defeat. Financial markets crashed, the yuan plummeted, and investors fled. The economic prosperity underpinning the regime was now at risk. Beijing's leadership faced a nightmare, miscalculation on a historic scale. The 72-hour operation exposed their systems as vulnerable and their doctrine as flawed. National prestige and stability were shattered. The psychological impact on the populace was profound. Defeat, betrayal, confusion. The confidence of decades evaporated overnight. The price of this gamble was ruinously high. The collapse of China's A2/AD network was the conflict's most significant outcome. Years of investment in a supposed bubble of lethality proved futile. The American counterattack exposed critical vulnerabilities: radars, comms, command centers. Once blinded and decapitated, the A2/AD system fell apart. Mobile launchers and J-20 fighters without targeting data became useless. Plan warships, stripped of shore-based support, were easy prey. The system's supposed synergy was its greatest weakness. The collapse sent a chilling message to Beijing: their strategy had failed. Advanced weapons alone are not enough. They must be resilient and networked. China's shattered shield was a warning to all. The 72-hour showdown over the Taiwan Strait was a brutal lesson for all. China learned that weapon parity does not equal military superiority. The PLA's rigid command structure crumbled against America's networked approach. For the US, the conflict validated decades of investment in technology and training. The Carrier Strike Group proved its worth, but the threat was real and ever-present. The world saw that military power is more than numbers. It's about integration and adaptability. Attempts to deny access to the seas would be met with overwhelming force. The war was a tragedy of miscalculation, a warning about the speed and lethality of modern conflict. The ruins on the Chinese coast stood as a monument to the dangers of hubris and nationalism. The world glimpsed the future of warfare, and the urgent need to avoid it. The cost of miscalculation had never been higher.